Hey guys, welcome back to my shop here at Eric Schaefer Guitars. We're doing shop rounds today. Shop rounds is basically where I just take you on a little tour around my shop and I talk about all of the different things that are currently going on this week in the shop. And through the process of talking about my current projects, you guys hopefully pick up some guitar making tips here and there and some knowledge about luthiery along the way. So what do we have to talk about today? I've got the two Parlor guitar molds that you guys have seen me getting started on in previous videos. Those are, well, not completely finished, but mostly finished, so I'll show you that. And I've got a whole bunch of parts that I'm batching out and prepping for the spring Acoustic Guitar Build workshops. So you'll see that. And then finally, I also have two tools that I'm going to be talking about. The Stewmac Binding Tower and the LMI Binding Tower. So doing something a little bit different here. I'm actually going to be comparing those two and what my experience has been with those binding towers from two different providers and which one I like best. Okay, and in that case there is actually a very clear winner, so I'll just leave it at that for now. So let's get started right here with the Parlor guitar molds. I'm gonna set up the camera on the tripod here so I can talk about this without making you guys sick from nauseous from me moving around the camera so much. Whoop, I'm new to this tripod here. Okay, so these two Parlor guitar molds, I got started for guitar number 86 and 87, and I'm actually getting into class season here in the spring really quickly. And so these two guitars are at a good point right now where I'm actually you're going to see me doing less work on them and even possibly no work at all as I go into this class season. That's simply because once class season starts, I really dedicate myself to teaching, and everything else I put to the wayside until those class sessions are completely over. By the way, all of the spring classes are full right now. There is still just 4 spots left in the fall, and that's it for the whole year. So if you want to take an acoustic guitar build workshop, you got to get in one of those 4 spots in the fall. Okay, so with these two Parlor guitars, all I have left to do on these, I've stacked my 3 pieces of MDF and duplicated them on the router to get them all perfect, to get my shape perfect. And all I have left to do with these is add the clamping mechanism on both sides. I'll show you what that looks like on a different mold. So, whoop. I always like to attach this, some piece of hardwood or maybe even 2 pieces of high quality plywood would work fine too. And then I attach this dowel here for the clamping mechanism. When I buy these, it comes with a metal piece here that this latches into. I just throw that out and switch it for this dowel because it just works better. That metal piece is held by 2 screws and it has a tendency to pull itself out over time. So that's just something I've learned over time. So that I will be doing hopefully before I get too deep into the class season. Alright, so those are the Parlor molds for guitars 86 and 87. Let's go check out some other stuff. And over here I've got some parts that I've been preparing for use for the acoustic guitar build workshops that are coming up. So I've batched out a whole bunch of neck blanks here, which I'm still going to have to cut that scarf joint and add a heel block onto the end, and then it will be essentially ready as a neck blank. But for now, I've just brought these all to thickness, which a good starting thickness for me is 20 millimeters. Might be different for you guys depending on what you're actually building. The way that I bring these down to thickness is I just mark these with a marking gauge to my 20 millimeters, and then it's just the planer. Simple as that. I just pass this through the planer. Mahogany takes to the planer very easily. Also, it's just a world-class wood for guitar necks anyway because of its stability. This is Honduran mahogany, by the way, Swietenia macrophylla, so this is the genuine stuff. Oh, and by the way, I'd just like to mention, whenever I show you guys this, stickers. Always sticker your wood. It's good to just get into the habit of having like a bin of scrap wood, which I have a bin of stickers, scrap wood that I use as stickers, that's screwed to the wall. And so as I'm batching a bunch of things through one process, rather than just sort of piling them up on top of each other, I always have those stickers handy so I can just grab them, and as I'm building up my pile of finished pieces, I'm just throwing those stickers in between them. That way, when you're done a process and it's late at night and you're tired, you don't just get lazy like I would and leave your pile of neck blanks all on top of each other, because I've developed that habit of just always throwing the stickers on there as they come off the machine. So think about that. Same thing here. These are all stickered. These even more important because they're so thin, these would warp way more easily if they weren't stickered than something thick like this would. So these are joined and thicknessed and ready to go for the classes. I actually have a friend of mine, a buddy, coming in here and helping me out with some of that sanding work, the thicknessing and all of that, and planing. He's coming out here every Monday. It's been working out great so far, and yeah, it's just nice not to work alone sometimes too. But yeah, maybe I'll have to have him here on the show at some point. So anyway, what we have is Sitka spruce, okay, Picea sitchensis, and Dalbergia latifolia, which is East Indian rosewood. So rosewood back and sides, Sitka spruce top. Not much else to say about that. What I do when I thickness these is first they get joined, and then they get thicknessed on the drum sander to get them down to, the thickness varies a little bit, so I'm not going to say exactly what that is because it's going to be different per species and I don't want to confuse you guys. Thickness it down on one face, and I actually leave the other face as kind of the uneven face, because later on after this gets glued down, this will be on the outside, and through the process of sanding the binding down flush, we will also even up this face. And that way we don't over sand either the top or the back by sanding too much at this stage, getting it ultra thin, and then later on having to sand the binding back and inadvertently getting parts of your plate even thinner than you wanted it to be. So that's always something to consider. It's a very common mistake I find, that people who are new to guitar making will look up final thicknesses for plates online. And so in the very beginning of the build, what they'll do is they'll thickness exactly to that. And then through the process of leveling the binding and sanding for finish, among other things, if there's any inlay on there too, they'll sand a little more. Through those processes, they then sand below their final thickness, which at worst can be catastrophic. At best, it's just not optimal. You can actually lose a little tone if you go too thin, or you can have, well, I've already said it, or you can have some actually catastrophic consequences, which is not what we want. All right, let's go check out the tool of the week, which is those two binding towers that I'm going to talk about. And before we head over there, just so you can see that stickering, and you can imagine how that promotes way better airflow there. Okay, so let's head back here. Here's where I'm setting up, staging the guitars for the students of the workshops over here. It's just a good way of keeping track of everybody's guitars and which parts they're using. Yeah, so over here I have my two binding towers here. So let me set up this camera. All right, so here we have it. This is the tool off, if you want to call it that. The battle royale between the Stewmac Binding Tower and the LMI Binding Tower. And just to give you the clear winner right off the bat, it is LMI. I really like their setup, and there are actually some distinct and important differences between what they've done with it and what Stewmac has done with it. So let me start off by saying I have two of these because I've set one up for permanently for my, or semi-permanently, I can always change it, and sometimes I do. But I've set it up so I don't have to fuss with it so much, specifically just for binding channels, and then I can set up the other one just for purfling channels. And I bought one from LMI and one from Stewmac. This was a couple years ago, several years ago. But I bought one from each for just this reason, so I could kind of try them both out. And as you guys know, I don't give you guys reviews of tools literally right when I get them. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I like to review tools that I've had for a while, because then I can actually say something intelligent about them. It always drives me nuts, all these like unboxing videos that you see out there. It's like the stupidest thing imaginable. Like, why do I want to see what your experience is before you've used a product, right? I never understood that. I don't understand why that's a thing. What I want to see is what your experience has been years down the road if you like that product. So that's what you're getting here. And I don't get any money for reviewing this for you guys either, in case you guys were wondering. I don't have affiliate relationships or anything like that, which allows me to shit talk on companies if I want to, so that's fun. All right, so let's do some of that shit talking then, and we'll start with what I don't like about the Stewmac one here. And again, I still use it, so it hasn't been a deal breaker for me, but the shoe on the bottom of the Stewmac version is, I'm gonna have to show you this in a minute here, but it tapers like this to a fine point right before you hit the cutting edge of the bit. Alternatively, on the LMI version, this doesn't taper dramatically to that point. This is more of like a round over. So when you're cutting your channels, you can take your instrument, your sound box, and place the body right on that shoe, and then push the guitar gently into it and start your cutting. Whereas on this one, it's really hard or impossible to do that. You basically have to hold the router up like this and gently lower it onto the body, which is just a little more uncomfortable. It just feels a little dicier because you have the router running, you have one hand on the body, one hand on the router. It's just not really the most comfortable and hence the safest way of doing it. This, because of that the shape of the shoe is a lot easier. And the other thing too, the other major difference, seems like something that doesn't matter, but I think it matters a lot, is watch what happens when I drop the LMI one. It's kind of a slow, here I'll do it again. It's a slow drop there because of this, it's like a pulley system that they have on it. This lacks that completely. So when I drop this, I almost don't even want to do it because I feel like I'm doing damage to it, but see that? I mean, it drops like a friggin' brick. Not great. I don't love that. It shouldn't be really, when you're doing everything correctly, it shouldn't be coming off of the body and dropping at all anyway, but this makes me feel a lot more comfortable using it, knowing that when I pull the body away, or if I pull the body away, that's what happens, rather than that. So yeah, those two things bother me enough that I genuinely wish that I actually had just bought two of the LMI setup in the beginning, but then I never would have known the difference between the two and wouldn't have been able to make this great video for you guys. So that's what I think of those. By the way, Stewmac makes great tools. I actually buy more stuff from Stewmac than I do from LMI or from any other company for that matter. I just, you know, got to be honest when there's something that I just don't think they nailed 100%. All right, I think we can wrap it up now. I will talk to you guys later. It's Friday here. It's the weekend just starting for me, so I'm going to go out and I don't know what I got planned this weekend, actually. I'm going to go out and do stuff. I hope you guys go out and do stuff too. Bye for now. If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaeferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.